When was the last time you traveled anywhere? It feels like a very long time for us, doesn't it? I know all I want to do is hop on a plane and go see the world, but there are still many countries that won't be opening their borders to tourists anytime soon. It's understandable why they're not opening up, but we have to take these countries off of our list. So stay tuned to today's video. Australia. Yep, Australia will not be allowing foreign tourists to enter the country. If you're planning on going down under, then you might want to just stay up top. The Prime Minister made an announcement saying that he's going to prioritize bringing in skilled workers and international students first. Australia has had some of the longest and strictest travel restrictions for any democracy, so we're not entirely surprised that they won't be opening up to foreign travel. This announcement also came about after he announced that fully vaccinated citizens were allowed to leave the country for foreign travel starting this month. This is the first time they've been able to do so since March 2020. I'm sure many of them are happy to have the option to leave now. Also, with these travel restrictions, the universities have been hit hard in Australia. They rely heavily on international students' tuition, but since they haven't been able to have international students for so long, they're in a bit of a pickle. Let's hope the universities can get their money back because we all know universities love that money. What do you think about this? If fully vaccinated Australians are allowed to leave the country, then should fully vaccinated foreigners be allowed to enter? Sweden. Sweden was one of the European countries that didn't impose any lockdowns and tried to gain herd immunity through the population. However, things didn't work out, so they've imposed a lockdown on travel. There are some expectations though, like with everything else with this pandemic. Basically, there will be non-essential travel to Sweden from countries outside of EU, EEA. This ban will be looked at again on January 31st, 2022. However, again, there's a list of countries that are exempt from this rule, so you might want to check it out if your country is on this list. Also, those lists are constantly changing all the time, so if you really want to go visit Sweden, then keep an eye on that list. If you're allowed to go to Sweden, then will you be rushing there, or will you be waiting a bit longer before going to see the Swedish countryside? Nicaragua. Now, this was a bit of an interesting case because Nicaragua never actually shut down. There was never any stay-at-home order or any social distancing put up in place, so many people wonder how many cases are actually in the country. Due to this, the government never actually closed borders until October 2020. Was this one of the latest travel restrictions amongst most countries of the world? Maybe. Anyways, Nicaragua now only has very limited flights resuming, but many flights are tentative to resume. There has been discussion about flights starting up again in January 2020, but it looks like it depends on what the government wants to do. Many countries are advising their citizens to not enter the country at all because their COVID status is unknown. Would you still take the risk and go to Nicaragua? Or would you maybe wait it out until the government begins to say it's safe and more flights resume? Nicaragua. No one's allowed to enter Nicaragua unless you're a citizen, have family, or an essential worker. Even then, these groups of people were only allowed in the country after October 26, 2020. Recently, there have been talks that on November 1st, 2021, they would reopen the country to tourism, but they have decided to not do that. It looks like no one knows when Nicaragua will open their borders to foreign travel again because it's not a discussion that's being had. The cases and deaths have hit a record high back in April and May of 2021. Luckily, they began to decline in late June 2021, so they might not be accepting any tourism for quite some time. This is probably a decision that's needed to keep everyone safe. But are people still wondering when will the borders be open? Venezuela. Venezuela has been one of the world's most at-risk nations during the pandemic. Also, the humanitarian crisis doesn't help when you throw that into the mix. It's no surprise that they're keeping their borders closed to tourism. The civil unrest has been so intense that the United States State Department has even said that people should not visit the country. So you have COVID and humanitarian issues going on in Venezuela. This does not seem like a country that you even want to visit at the moment, even if restrictions were lifted. Did you plan on visiting, or were you going to give this country a miss for now? Keep watching to find out what other countries aren't opening up to visitors. We're heading into Asia, and that should be an interesting list. China. China has been extremely strict with any foreign travel since March 2020. Only certain flights began to fly again last summer, but only non-citizens with valid permits and visas can enter the country under certain conditions. That's right, just because you got your visa doesn't mean you're actually allowed in the country. Even if you can manage to get into the country, you'll need to do a full quarantine and additional testing. That's if you're vaccinated or not, so it's looking like China doesn't want to have foreign tourism start up again anytime soon. There has been no discussion about when they'll want to ease travel restrictions, so it looks like they're going to have to wait to get some real Chinese food. Was China a place you wanted to go to? Did you want to go for the food, the history, the technology? Are you sad you can't? I know I am. Hong Kong. We have have even stricter travel restrictions here in Hong Kong. Only transit passengers have allowed to enter the country since June 2020. If you're a transit passenger, then it means you're catching a connecting flight in Hong Kong, but you're not allowed to leave the airport at all. If you want to leave the airport, then you need to be a Hong Kong resident and you have to be quarantined in a hotel for 21 days. Yes, 21 days. If you thought 14 days was long, try 3 weeks. Also, for transit passengers, if you're arriving by plane from anywhere except mainland China, Macau, Australia, or New Zealand in the past 14 days, then you'll be denied entry. So you might not want to catch a connecting flight in Hong Kong either. There's no talk about when they're going to loosen travel restrictions, so I think Hong Kong is a no-go zone for a little while. Oh man, have you been looking forward to seeing Hong Kong? Well, if you have been, then it looks like you're gonna have to be waiting like the rest of us. Japan. This one hurts my heart deeply because all I want to do is go to Japan, but I'm not allowed. That's right, Japan still has banned all foreign nationals who are not legal residents from entering the country. This ban has been put in place for 159 countries, so that's a lot of people who won't be going to have amazing food, see the shrines, or enjoy the anime. There has been no talk about when they're going to lift the ban. Japan has only started allowing limited business travel, so no tourism will be taking place anytime soon. I can't talk about this one too much because it hurts the most. Do you want to go visit Japan? Where do you want to go? I wanted to go everywhere, the whole island. Kazakhstan. This landlocked country is close to most citizens of the world. They're only accepting international flights from Azerbaijan, China, South Korea, Czech Republic, and UAE. Everywhere else is not allowed. Even if you do decide to take a chance, you need to have pre-approval from the government, a visa, and a negative PCR test to even enter the country. So it's not worth the hassle or the risk of being denied entry. There have been no talks about when Kazakhstan will open its borders again. It seems as though they don't want to talk about it. Also, COVID levels is unknown, so maybe it's not the time to go anyways. Malaysia. Tourists are not allowed in Malaysia. That's right, nobody is coming into this country. There are very few exceptions, like certain people with long-term passes and pre-approved short-term business travels. Otherwise, you're not getting in this country. The travel ban has been extended and there have been no talks about when you can enter, so you better take Malaysia off that travel list of yours because you're not going. Well, everyone, there you have it. Our list of countries that won't be opening up their borders anytime soon for tourism. There's still loads more that we need to cover, so if you want to know more about the other countries you can visit, then let us know down below. Were there any on this list that surprised you? Maybe one that you're disappointed about not going to visit? Tell us your thoughts, and we'll catch you on the next one.